Crypto 101, right? And this is why we're creating the Crypto 102 course. Is everything we do is the same patterns and the same philosophies that everybody has, right? It's always going to be the same. It's going to come down to, um, like Fibonacci's. You have the golden pocket, right? There's three lines in the golden pocket, right? So you have the support of the golden pocket, the middle, the 50 line, the 50% line, and then you have the next line, which is the resistance, right? And when it breaks past that, what it normally does, it goes up and it hits a number, which is the 786 line. And then once it hits the 786, it returns back to retest, I think the 618. And then from there is when it actually breaks out and goes past the 786 line, right? Now, this also corresponds with a wave, Elliott wave theory, which is wave one, the breakout, wave two, the retest, wave three, the higher move, right? So when you look at a cluster, which is where Doge is in right now, there are three levels to the cluster, right? Which is basically what we call consolidation. There is the support level where it hit its low. There is the middle level, which is like having the Fibonacci 50 line, the 50 line, and then the 618, which is the resistance. And then once it breaks the resistance, it heads over to the 786. It pulls back down to the resistance, which is now support, and it runs. So once you understand um, to how that all the systems and all the strategies are basically the same thing, right? They're just using different indicators to try to confirm that what they're seeing is correct. That's why you have so many different indicators, is because each indicator is confirming what everyone else is starting to do, right? And so what we have to do here, guys, and don't forget, if you're watching TikTok, share the live real quick. Get some likes on there. But what you have to do here is you have to understand that once you're learning the basics, right, they're all the same, right? So very easy to predict, manipulate, and understand. So what you have to do is you have to become the person that has a higher knowledge of what's happening, and then you have to play into the next move, right? Which is no matter what happens here, right? No matter what goes down, the only thing that matters, right, is what I told you guys 5 years ago and 10 years ago when I was teaching, is volume is king, okay? Why? Because VC says so. Volume is king. If there's volume, it goes up. If there's no volume, it stays or goes down, right? That's all that matters. It doesn't matter about all the lines, all the supports, all the resistance, all the patterns, and all that other stuff. Patterns only work at a high level when the market has high volume, which is volume is king, right? They work about 50 to 65% of the time. If there's low volume, they work about 30 to 40% of the time. So they're pretty much worthless in this scenario, which is you're not in a bull run. You're only in bull runs basically 20% out of the market's time. So 80% of the time, you need to learn how to trade systematically so that you can make money during the average market periods, right? Bull runs happen every 4 years on average, right? And this is why most people lose their money, because they only learn how to trade in bull runs versus understanding markets overall. So we've created a Trading 102 course, which we're happy to say we're going to be releasing tomorrow. It'll be on our vccryptonation.com website. And if you want more information, you can go to the free Discord and get your information. But what this is going to do is going to teach you how to trade systematically all the time, so that even when there's a terrible market, you're still profitable. Where there's a normal market, you do very well. And when there's a bull run, you become rich, right? So this is how we do it. So in this scenario here, in this sideways move or consolidation, right, it's all the same. This cannot break out and break through the Fibonacci or the golden pocket or anything until there is volume. So what we're doing right now is we're using a higher time frame, which is the 4 hour, to track breakouts and volume. So the first thing here is we have this indicator here. This is called the VCMTE moon indicator volume tracker, right? This is our indicator. We designed it and built it. And this is what we use to basically confirm all the other things, right? So when there's a Elliott wave 1, 2, 3 move, when there's a bull pennant, a bull flag, a head and shoulders, whatever you want, this indicator here is your number one indicator because it is the confirmation of what you see, right? It lets you know whether or not what you're seeing is actually going to come to fruition or if it's not going to happen, right? So here we have this circle here. This is called a green moon. You guys can see right there. That green moon hits, and what that does for us, it just lets us know that during this period we are in a upward motion, right? So it triggers to where we can start to say that this triggered on March 28th at 2 a.m., right? So March 28th at 2 a.m., which is about 3 days ago, there was a bullish signal that came in at 9141 on Doge, right? 9141 on Doge. And that just lets us know that there's volume coming in at that time and that we should be looking for a entry or what we call a live trade. Now what happens is during that time, if we went back to, let's say, March 28th at 2 a.m., let's jump over here to the 1 minute mark. And we're going to scroll down here to March 28th. There we go, March 28th, 2 a.m. And we can actually see right here when we got the signal, 9141, March 28th, 2 a.m., right? Now, if we played that signal, right, and I'll show you how this plays out. That signal came in here. Price was 9141, right? So if you're entering that price, and you can see here on the chart, after that happened, we had this huge push to the top here, right? So from here to here. You see that? Now, if I measure that, that means that during this 4-hour moon, we had a 4% move on Doge, right? See that 4%? Now that's an opportunity for you to make money if you're a trader, right? So now how you make money in this scenario comes down to your, what we call a system, right? The strategy is different than a system. Strategy, this is very simple. There's two strategies. Strategy number one is how to find a live trade. For us, it's very simple. When there's a 4-hour moon on our indicator, that creates this buy signal at 9131. That's a live trade. Strategy number two is how do we enter this trade properly so that we maximize profits and also minimize risk of being not liquidated, but actually stopped out of our stop loss. Okay, that's strategy number two. So you have strategy one, live trade. Strategy two, how do I enter a live trade? And then you have the most important thing you got to learn, which is how do I make money or execute on the trade when it goes for 4%, right? So this trade goes for 4%. How do you make the most amount of money on this particular live trade when it does 4%, right? That comes down to understanding your leverage, right? How much money you need to put in the trade, what your leverage needs to be, what your stop loss needs to be. So that's what we teach inside of Crypto 102 or Trading 102, sorry, is how to execute this trade at the highest level to make sure that you get the most out of your money, right? Very easy, very simple. And that's what we cover, right? So this is all part of the system. It's all part of the basics of putting this together. And now what we're doing is we're starting the course to teach this, right? That's one live trade, right? The second live trade that we have is basically when you have a 4-hour, right? And this, you don't need our indicator, but this is something we track. It's called the, we call it the stochastic RSI, right? And on the same time frames, right, we use this indicator here. And when this indicator shows that it's actually going up at a certain time, right, and we use our indicator to tell us when there's a moving into a moon, right? So what we're looking for here is, you see how this RSI down here starts to head up right here, right? It comes off the bottom, it starts to head up, right? If it correlates with a green moon, then we have a trade, right? Over here, it goes up, right? If it coordinates with a green moon, then we have a trade, which if you look here, you can see that everywhere it actually coordinated with a green moon on our indicator, there's a yellow box, right? And there's a yellow box. What that means is, when we see this upward tick in the RSI, right, which normally means that there's going to be some type of value, if it coordinates with a 4-hour moon, then we take a particular trade that we want, right? And I'm going to take these boxes here, and just so that you can understand, we're going to turn them aqua blue, and then we're going to go back and look at these particular buy zones, right? We call them buy boxes. These are just buying zones. And then we can go back and look at these buying zones, that when this happens, right, we can get into a scenario that allows us to look for the move, right? So here's an upward move that has a 4-hour green moon to it as well, right here. There's another one, 4-hour up, green moon. Okay, and we can go back and look at these particular trades. Here we go, where when we're down in this area here, you can see that our green moons would be here, right? So let's take a look at these, because these are the most recent as well. You can see here we have an up on the RSI, which would trigger this particular trade here. Aqua, blue. Let's turn this over here. And that actually runs until there's a blue, which would be here. So blue up, blue moon. There we go, a green moon. Same thing here. Up, green moon, right, which would trigger this particular box here. We'll turn that aqua. There we go. And that goes until there is a blue moon, but we haven't got a blue moon yet. So now let's go back and look at these boxes. I'm going to take some of these other boxes out of here. Clean up the noise a little bit, right? So let's start over here in this section here. This would be February the 28th, right? We're going to slide down. We're going to go to the 1 minute. And now we have all these aqua boxes here, right? These are just buying zones or buying boxes. Let me just clear that up there. So we can see all this. So this should be the 28th, right? So this is that first aqua box. And you can see here, we got a 4% move on our move that we wanted. Now as we scroll down, you can see there's all types of buy areas in here that you can make percentages in here, right? We're a little bit longer than that. That's a current one. There's the 20. Okay, yeah. So you can see in these areas here, these blue boxes, right? There's all these little areas that have sections of possible trades that we can get into, right? In all these sections here, you go back to March 4th, there's another section with an average of 10%. Here's another, and we've already marked pretty much all these out. And if you go from the entry points to the top of those points, right, there's about 8%. So these trades that we have here, these blue boxes, they're averaging about 8% on that move. And you can see right there, there's the big move. And this blue box just simply represents the 4-hour RSI up with a 4-hour green moon on our indicator, right? That is not hard to follow or understand. So now what we're doing is we're just teaching people that this is a very simple live trade to follow, and then how to enter this trade and execute it in trading 102, right? Just allows you to get in these positions where you can find all of these trades here, right? And you can see that, these trades are all hitting very, even if we're taking the top side, this trade's about 5%. This trade here is about 5%. So the minimum on these trades are about 5% on these moves, right? I'll just put this in here, 5%. Put that at the top. There you go. Here, this is another 5%. All the same thing, right? So if you guys want to learn this simple trade, this is just a very simple systematic trade. There's nothing really hard to it, and the opposite would be just kind of going down on it, right? So now we're going to get to the closer area that we're in here, and just looking at the overall market. And then once again, here's our trade, the push up here, 5% again, right? So we just move this blue up here. It touched the top. Let's get the settings in here. 5% top. There we go. We move on, and now we have this one here, right? Which is kind of hasn't really finished its move yet. It still hasn't gone to a blue moon yet. So currently, if we measured out our current entry right here to where it went to, we got about a 4% move. So right now, this particular move has given us a 4% in the original move, and now it's kind of like going sideways, but we're looking for it to retouch that 4%, right? So this would be kind of where we're at right now. So this is a very systematic trade. It's a 4% move on basics right here, and right now it's just finishing up. So there's nothing hard about this trade, right? So if you guys want to learn how to do this trade, then head over to the Discord, because we post it. It's free, and this is what we post here, right? So we'll post something like this inside of a free chat, and it's just a 4-hour moon RSI and moon tracker, right? When the moon shows up, right, we post that there's a 4-hour moon. When the RSI heads up, right, we post that the 4-hour RSI is headed up. And then in the free chat, like we have, you can see here, Doge 4-hour RSI up 2 hours ago. Here's the 4-hour RSI headed up, right? So it's that simple, right? And that allows you to know that at that point, you have a live trade on Doge. So right now, what we're doing inside the Discord is we're just posting all these here, and then people are learning how to execute this trade, right? So if you want to learn a very successful trade, you can learn how to do the 4-hour RSI trade, right? It's very simple, very easy to learn, guys, and you can head over there. And it takes everything, that you have, and then teaches you how to, take advantage of volume and the movements that are happening into it, and then learn how to get these better entries so that you guys can become very successful at doing one specific type of trade and then evolve into the next trades, right? Before you can become a good trader, you have to become a systematic trader, guys, right? So if that makes sense, hit ones in the chat. If you're in Discord, or if you're in TikTok, hit ones in the chat. You have to become a very systematic trader in order to trade, right? Once you learn a system, you can apply the same system to other coins, other trades, and then you can start changing the time frames to work in your favor once you understand how to develop a system, right? What up, Loretto? Loretto, thanks for watching over there. Long time watcher, Loretto. Appreciate you, man. Don't forget to share the live, guys, as we dig in here. So right now, Doge in the market is active. The volume is coming in, and we can see right now that we're pushing the 4-hour volume, and it's staying that way. So guys, if you want to get into the 102 course, like I said, you can head over to vccryptonation.com, right? And that'll have all the information, and we'll be putting the course on the website April 1st, right? So April 1st, the course goes live, and there'll be different courses, different ways to get into the course. You can do the full course. You can do a monthly part of the course, right? So we're going to have different options for everybody on the paid course. So that way it fits your, you know, whatever your current moment is, and allows you to um, give yourself the best opportunity to learn and see if it's, you know, worth you coming into, right? So this way you can test the boot camps, you can test out the course, and at a very low price. And then if it works for you, then you can come back and say, this I understand, and then you can, you know, continue on with your education. But it's vccryptonation.com, very easy to follow, and we are all doing the same trade. So yes, we trade live with you. Yes, we have trade call outs. So while you're learning, you're earning, which keeps you motivated to learn more, keeps you focused in on what you're doing, and allows you to like build your bags and grow. And this will teach you to be non-emotional, all systematic, and just be a trader based off of, you know, what's happening with the money and value. And the only thing you're doing is trading with the sentiment of the market, with the money of the market, not just the sentiment where more buyers are coming, but more buyers with money are coming, right? You want to trade with the market makers, right? And the whales, not just the average Joe who's throwing money in and out and doesn't know why he's in a trade. So if you ever make a trade and you're like, I should get out of this trade now because it doesn't look good, you have no idea of what you're doing. If you ever enter a trade and then sit there and watch it, and as soon as it goes down a little, you panic and sell, you have no idea what you're doing, right? If you ever are in a trade and you have no idea why you're in a trade, you have no idea on what you're doing. So you might as well just stop trading. It's not for you. Now, if you want to be serious about trading and learn how to actually do it right, then you head over to vccryptonation.com, right? And we'll show you how to actually become systematic, right? Doing all the other shit you're doing is it's pointless. You might as well just give up. Right? You know, you're not doing anything. You're just wasting money, right? You're better off just go buy Nvidia, go buy some Tesla stock and just hold it for the next 20 years, and you should be all right. All right. But moving on from that, guys, that's how you get in there. Go to vccryptonation.com. I'm going to keep it real with you. If you can't understand systematic trading, you should just give up anyways. It's not for you, and you know there's other things you can do, right? You should become a hodler, right? Buy Solana every day, over and over and over. Buy XRP every day. You know, have 3 coins, right? If I was gonna do, you know, if I was a terrible trader, I would probably just every day buy a little bit of XRP, a little bit of Solana, um, and a little bit of Ethereum, and just buy those coins over and over and over and over. And then, you know, eventually in 10 years, they'll be worth something, guys. So other than that, good luck, God bless, guys. Have a great day.